Hey everybody, how's it going? Hopefully you're all having a great day. I wanted to cover a topic that I kind of came across today. It's a little bit of like an interplay between Steve Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and kind of how I've been feeling. A little bit more so like in the past, but still kind of relevant to this day. And that's this idea of like self-worth or self-valuation. Now, for some context, I used to be a collegiate athlete, so a lot of my day-to-day was spent measuring myself. How much weight am I lifting? Did I do more weight on the cleans than I did the other time? I would do long jump, triple jump, and high jump, so it was a very like results-driven. I mean, all of track is results-driven, but you could visibly see the bar, and if you clear the bar or not, you would know right then and there. So it was a good breeding ground for a nice competitive spirit when it came to myself and being competitive, both with myself and with others, right? But I inevitably found my sense of value behind those metrics, right? So, for example, if I didn't jump as high one day, I didn't feel good. I felt like I was worth less than I was normally when I did jump high, right? And this characteristic kind of carried on throughout life, right? A lot of it is like when I'm at work, how valuable am I? Like what problems am I solving is really my value at work, which, is not a bad metric. But when there's a problem that I don't have the tool set to solve, right? It's not feasible for me to hold myself to that standard because I didn't have all the resources needed. I would still feel the guilt as if I did have all the resources and just failed to deliver, right? Which is kind of tough, right? Because you're not always going to have all the variables and all the resources that you need to solve a problem. But if you're always judging your value or your sense of self-worth on that assessment, then it's kind of tough. You kind of have an ever elusive goalpost. And that kind of like bleeds into this idea, and kind of what I think is an issue with a lot of social media websites is that like, when you scroll, there really is no barometer for what you should be comparing yourself to and what you shouldn't be comparing yourself to, right? Me personally, I consume a lot of finance topics. So for me, my social media is a lot of, very young, wealthy people who, founded a company and now they're like, multi-millionaire, some billionaire, right? Or fitness, right? Where these people are able to be in the gym X amount of hours every single day, and have a lifestyle that can devote to that kind of stuff, right? So without clearly understanding where my limitations are and understanding like my personal life, what I value, what I find important, without doing that legwork, I'm kind of just subject to whatever I see, right? If I see somebody that's more muscular than me, I think, wow, I'm less muscular than them. So I feel worse now. Or I have X amount of money and that person has more than me and he's younger than me. I feel crappy, right? So it introduced this concept that like it's very important to define things, especially for yourself, right? Which is part of the 7 Habits book, where you develop your own personal mission statement. Now, I fully recommend anyone that hasn't read the book to go read that book. It's kind of tough because like if you've ever watched Rick and Morty, like when Morty experiences true level, he's like goes back to the real world, everything's so like uneven. And this book is kind of one of those books that you'll read, and once you become aware of the things that it talks about, you kind of, it's hard to look at the world in the same way, right? Like not from this like, oh, look how great I am, but you realize how lacking a lot of people are in base level understanding of who they are. And you realize that, wow, there are a lot of problems that I can solve just by doing effectively what the book covers, So after personally going through and doing my mission statement through 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, there was this sense of clarity that I understood what my objectives were. I understood what I found important, right? I very clearly defined what is my role to my significant other? What is my role to my friends? What is my role to myself? What is my role to my parents? And without giving too much of the book away, it also tells you to kind of define, you want to think with the end in mind, right? So on my deathbed, what do I want my significant other to say about me? Well, I want them to say that I always cared about them, and that when everything was on the line and they had to call one person, they knew they could call me. I wanted them to remember me as funny, as a loving person who always knew how to make them smile, and somebody who provided, right? That's a lot. But what that did was it defined for me the barometer of success. So now I know what I need to do on a day-to-day basis, right? I need to be there for them. I need to learn how to be a good listener. I need to learn how to be a good emotional support for them. I need to learn some good jokes, right? My usual dad jokes weren't cutting it anymore. Well, they were still doing the trick, but and I just needed to learn how to be there. And once I got all of that defined, I had very tangible things to go towards my goals. And I could look online and see, like, admittedly, like, I came across an article where one of my exes, like, I guess started dating some hyper famous person, at least like not movie famous, like not in the film industry, but like a different industry, like super famous there. And like they were featured in an article and what have you. So I was looking at them and I was like, I think a prior version of me would have been very hurt, would have been like, damn, like, what am I doing with my life? You know, look at them. They clearly traded up, you know, to get that person. But after clearly defining my roles and what I value and what I want the end picture to be for my significant other, I had no ill feelings. I didn't care one bit. It was so blissful. It was like the coolest experience I've ever had, because I thought to myself, like, wow, I'm very happy for them. You know, like, if I hope that person is providing everything that the ex needed as far as like a relationship was concerned. And I had no insecurity behind it because I knew that I was doing everything I could do for my current significant other. And that was awesome, you know? And I've recently kind of like, I think I covered this in my morning routine video, that I realized I was starting to lose a little bit of muscle mass and gain a little bit of fat. And before, there was like a never ending number in my head of like what I needed to get to, and nothing was ever good. And I felt kind of bummed when my body fat would go up. I would feel kind of like excited and ecstatic when my muscle content would go up, right? So inevitably, I kind of redefined what it was that I was looking for in that topic. And I thought, okay, my goal is just to do something every day, like get a little bit of exercise in, more so for like my own personal sanity than anything else, and be functional, you know? And I am that now. And it's great because that goal will change for me, right? Functional can change based on what I need to be done, right? So recently I picked up volleyball and I've been absolutely loving it, right? But because of volleyball, I need to be more of a jumper. Before I was doing jiu-jitsu, right? Which you need a little bit more slow, controlled strength, right? So I needed to change the workout regimen. But if I instead were just so rigid and all I did was Brazilian jiu-jitsu training and that was it, I never did anything else other than that as far as like weightlifting was concerned, or like the workout regimen, right? I'd be a terrible volleyball player, right? But I wouldn't be able to adjust and adapt if I didn't have a good understanding and a good definition of what I found to be valuable. So not only does establishing this like sense of value, or basically outlining this barometer of success, not only does that allow you to feel more confident in yourself when taking in external stimulus and seeing like social media, seeing, you know, articles posted, right? Not only does it give you the confidence to see that and just know your own value even through that, but it also allows you to adapt and change as your world adapts and change, because it's not going to be the same variables across the rest of your life, right? As much as, you know, maybe I wish that, or maybe don't wish that, because it sounds like it might be boring, but it's also consistent. So I don't know. That's not how it's going to be, right? Things will change, and you must learn to adapt. You must learn to adjust and change your actions accordingly, but still be able to hold on to that sense of your mission statement or sense of like your value, right? So that was really cool. I thought that was very helpful, and I think definitely it's something that could be used nowadays to be able to surf the internet, to surf social media, to see your friends succeed and not feel like you're left behind, not feel like, if I'm not in the top X percentile of my friends, then what's it all for? Am I even winning? Am I just some loser, right? Don't define your metrics of success by other people. Take some time, learn it yourself, pick up 7 habits of highly effective people, and at least get through the first 3 habits. Like, I think that everyone, just for yourself, should get through the first 3 habits, right? The next 4 habits more deal with like you as you interact with the world, but the first 3 habits are very important. I really think that if there's no harm in you learning the first 3 habits, we'll just say that, right? Read the first 3 habits. If you hate it, don't read the rest of it. But as far as gaining mastery of yourself, gaining mastery of your own emotions, I think that the first 3 habits are very important to know and very effective. So much so that I'm even thinking about going back and rereading the first 3 habits and doing like a deep dive on my interpretation of the first 3 habits and kind of how I've related them to my life. Hopefully that provides some sort of like Cliff Note version for you all, and you're able to kind of take away from some of that, or at least get the motivation to go read it yourselves, right? So, but anyways, hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully you're able to kind of take that, apply it, maybe even give yourself some definitions as far as, how you're going to define your success. And without anything else to say, hope you have a great day.